This is the stadium in Guadalajara, Mexico, one of the venues of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. In just a few months, this arena will welcome fans from around the world. Mexico is set to host 13 of the 104 World Cup matches. 4 of these are set to be held in Guadalajara. But as beautiful visuals capture the stadium preparing for football's biggest celebration, another story has shaken the country. With only months to go before kickoff, waves of violence erupted across several states in Mexico. And this started with the killing of the drug lord Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, popularly known as El Mencho. Mexican security forces killed the country's most wanted cartel leader El Mencho in a high-stakes operation on Sunday that set off a spiral of violence and chaos. He was the leader and co-founder of the powerful Jalisco New Generation Cartel, which is often called CJNG. El Mencho is one of the United States' most wanted fugitives. The killing marks the most significant blow against organized crime since Mexican and US authorities recaptured Joaquin Guzman nearly a decade ago. So how did Mexico finally track down one of the world's most feared drug lords? After years of pursuit, Mexican forces on February 20 received a concrete tip about his whereabouts. The intelligence reportedly came through an associate connected to one of El Mencho's romantic partners, a trusted man who unknowingly helped authorities close in. The trail led to Tapalpa. Tapalpa is known for ecotourism, pine forests, and quiet weekend homes clustered near a golf course and a lake. The visuals show peaceful hills and red-roofed villas. But behind this calm setting, one of Mexico's most wanted men was hiding. Feared Mexican cartel leader Nemesio Oseguera, or El Mencho, spent his final hours in a luxury villa tucked inside the exclusive Tapalpa Country Club. It's a gated enclave of weekend homes in the hills of Mexico's western state of Jalisco. Before dawn on February 22, special forces backed by National Guard and helicopters sealed off the area. To avoid drawing attention, the mission relied heavily on ground troops with limited air support. As soldiers advanced toward the 2-story stone villa, cartel gunmen opened fire. The quiet mountain town echoed with gunshots. Security forces returned fire. 8 cartel members were killed. 2 soldiers were wounded. El Mencho and several of his deputies fled toward a wooded area behind the property. They disappeared into thick forest undergrowth. A helicopter supporting the mission was struck and forced to land. While some troops held their position near the cabin where weapons were found in large quantities, an elite special forces unit broke off and pursued him deeper into the woods. There, among trees and bushes, another gunfight erupted. Soldiers eventually found a wounded El Mencho alongside 2 bodyguards. All 3 had been seriously injured. Along with the wounded soldier, they were loaded onto a helicopter and airlifted. The plan was to take them to a hospital in Guadalajara. But as the aircraft flew, all 3 cartel members died from their wounds. The bodies were later sent to Mexico City for identification. According to Reuters, a US military-led intelligence task force focusing on drug cartels had supported the operation. But President Claudia Sheinbaum emphasized that the mission itself was carried out by Mexican forces.
All operations are carried out by federal forces. There wasn't any participation in the operation by US troops. There is a lot of interchange of information, as we have said here several times.
The Defense Minister Ricardo Trevila Trejo honored the soldiers who died.
First, I would like to offer my condolences To the families of our colleagues who lost their lives, we are also going. And recognition to our military personnel who carried out a successful operation. It can be viewed from many perspectives, but it is clear that they accomplished their mission. What was demonstrated? The strength of the Mexican state. There is no doubt about that. Thank you.
Shortly after news of El Mencho's death spread, suspected CJNG members launched coordinated attacks. Burned vehicles, military patrols, and guarded infrastructure were visible across Jalisco. A charred passenger bus blocked a bridge as armored vehicles secured the area. Cartel members torched convenience stores and petrol stations. Trucks were dragged onto highways and set on fire, forming flaming barricades. At least 85 roadblocks were recorded in a single day. Airlines suspended flights to Puerto, Vallarta. A military vessel was deployed off its coast. Public transport was halted in parts of Jalisco. Schools and universities shut down. Authorities urged residents to stay indoors. Tourists described panic.
The building that we stay in abuts a large pharmacy, which was torched and burnt. So our building was damaged, a lot of smoke damage, and this thing went, and we had to evacuate Sunday night. You could watch these guys running around on motorcycles, hijacking cars, setting fire to them, setting fire to stores.
Guadalajara was almost completely shut down as fearful residents stayed home. Some 10,000 soldiers were deployed across 20 of Mexico's 32 states to maintain order. At least 2,000 were sent to Guadalajara alone. Residents now worry about safety ahead of the World Cup.
I think it should be analyzed, as it puts people at risk, both those who live here and those who come from abroad. So it would be good to analyze and have the government handle it to improve the situation. At the moment, it is very insecure for all that has happened in the last week.
But FIFA President Gianni Infantino showed confidence in things being put in order.
We are analyzing and monitoring the situation in Mexico these days, at this moment, but I want to say from the outset that we have complete confidence in Mexico, in its President Sheinbaum. We are convinced that everything is going to turn out in the best possible way. We have some matches in a month in Mexico, the World Cup playoffs, and the Azteca Stadium is also going to be inaugurated soon.
Now let's listen to what the US President Donald Trump said.
For years, large swaths of territory in our region, including large parts of Mexico, really large parts of Mexico, have been controlled by murderous drug cartels. That's why I designated these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and I declared illicit fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel kingpins of all. You saw that yesterday.
So who was El Mencho? Born in 1966 in Michoacán, he grew up in a poor farming family. As a young man, he moved to California, where he was arrested for heroin trafficking and later deported. Back in Mexico, he briefly worked as a police officer before entering the drug trade. Around 2009, he founded the Jalisco New Generation Cartel after splitting from the Sinaloa cartel network. Under his leadership, CJNG grew into one of Mexico's most violent and powerful criminal organizations with an estimated 15,000 to 20,000 members. The group trafficked cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl into the United States, earning billions. It also expanded into extortion, migrant smuggling, fuel theft, and illegal mining. CJNG became known for military-style tactics. They used armed drones, improvised explosives, and carried direct attacks on security forces. The US State Department had offered a $15 million reward for information leading to his capture. El Mencho was seen as one of the last drug lords operating in the brutal manner of El Chapo and Ismael El Mayo Zambada. His death removes one of Mexico's most feared crime bosses. But what happens next? Experts warn that removing a kingpin without dismantling the organization can create a power vacuum. Rival factions may fight for control. Smaller cells may increase extortion and forced recruitment to survive. The root cause of Mexico's crisis runs deeper. Weak local institutions, corruption, poverty, and the enormous demand for drugs in the United States contributed to the crisis. Cartels thrive in that space. Under President Sheinbaum, Mexico has launched one of the most aggressive offenses against cartels in more than a decade. The killing of El Mencho is a major victory. It may ease pressure from Washington, but it also represents a calculated risk, especially with the World Cup approaching. Guadalajara, the stronghold of CJNG, is preparing to welcome the world. The question now is, will the fall of one man bring stability, or will it start a new chapter in Mexico's long war against the drug cartels? That's all we have in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you next week with more raging issues. Until then, it's goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Mark Lynn signing off. Take care and stay safe. Namaskar.